Hello, friends. It's Martha Creek, marthacreek.com to contact me. I'm really especially present today, and I don't know exactly what it's about other than I'm in a deep discernment about life and God and the nature of things. And I lost to death. One of my closest friends died in June. And then one of my close friends' daddy died a few weeks later. And then just day before yesterday, one of my dear, dear friends died suddenly from a intensive care overnight and then that. So I'm looking at over the years what death means to me and life means to me and the nature of God in all of this. And I'm comforted by a thought that I had when I was 3 years old. So my earliest experience of love was that of my grandfather, William Henry Shockley. And he was shorter and bald on this part of his head, only hair here, wore bibbed overalls, and was very funny, playful, lighthearted, not serious. And that was my earliest definitions of love. We lived, my mother and father and me lived in the house with him and my grandmother, Myrtle. And my earliest memories are of him. So I've defined nature and defined love often by the ways that I felt with him. And he died when I was 3. That was my first experience of death. And I have a distinct remembrance of being at the funeral and my mother wailing and really, really crying and in pain over his casket, his coffin. And even as a 3-year-old child in the arms of my father, I had the thought, they think he's dead. And I wasn't experiencing him as dead. I had experienced him as shifting. He was in another dimension, or he was in another form. So this has been going on with me since my earliest memories. And the reality is I still have grief and mourning over this as I think about this, as I watched Alan's come to the end of his life and then die after just a month, being in hospice a month. And he had a stronger will to live than anybody I've ever known. And he affirmed and prayed and denied and all matters of things. And he left the body. So as I look again at the nature of God and what unity teaches and believes about this, I invite myself and you again to be more of an explorer today. So instead of trying to know what it means or have the corner market cornered on what it actually means, to stay open to what it means, to explore ways in which we individually or as a family or as a movement perceive the essential nature of God as defined and put forth in our teachings. So generally that we identify it as understanding of God as principle, divine mind, spirit, substance, source, law, universe, good. It's also discussed in terms of attributes. God is the 12 powers, is life, love, order, faith, understanding, will, zeal, imagination, releasing, renunciation, letting go. So when naming the qualities that describe the nature of God, I know for myself that any describing of it or trying to describe it or name it is limited at best. And so that it's important for me to realize that I cannot ever truly define God, which as far as I know is okay with me. And I can never know all that there's to know about God. I can never know all there is to it. So that then God, is always greater than my perception, and certainly always greater than my current circumstance or my limited perspective or views. So then as we begin then to communicate in meaningful ways about this and to use our own faith and understanding to be in the field of this infinity, then How can I draw comfort again today? How can you draw comfort again today through whatever you believe, whatever your convictions are about the nature of God? So in the revealing word, it's described as the unchangeable life, love, substance, and intelligence of being. Principle does not occupy space. Neither has it any limitations of time or matter, and that it eternally exists as the one underlying cause out of which comes forth everything, including knuckleheads, for example. Divine principle is fundamental truth in a universal sense, partnering with the divine, co-creating, we call it. God is the name we give to the unchangeable, inexorable principle at the source of all existence. So paraphrased. Not a being, but being itself. From a true Lent, God as principle is the absolute good expressed in all creation. Now, this is where it gets slippery slope for me, a little boogery, because then in my limited human mortal mind, I think I know what good is. And I don't, I can't, I don't get to be the causer of what's good. And my naming something good leaves me exposed to believing then there's something bad, or the opposite of the good is bad, which gets me tripped up pretty regularly. So what if then all expression, whether we see it, know it, or feel it, or sense it, is God, is good because it is. And when I cannot call it good, to call it purposeful, to call it for my awakening, for my salvation, and that to absolutely, at a minimum, wake up to that God is not a person, that God is something intangible, invisible, and at the same time, something very real that I can sense even when I don't see it. I can intuit it. I believe I have signs from it. And through the infinite power and presence of that, I draw a lot of comfort at times like these. So get a sense of what it means to you, the nature of God. And if the word God doesn't work for you, pick one: universe, divine mind, spirit, source, something that you can work with, not to just throw this whole contemplation and reflection baby out with the bathwater. As a moving force, as life energy. Spirit. The Latin word spiritus, from spirit comes, means to breathe. To breathe, to blow, to live. Limitless, unspecialized, unspecified, unrestricted. So then as spirit, God is infinite, invisible essence for all of life, for all of life. And then where's God in, I planted 2 tomato plants, same brand, same cost, same type, same size, same pot, same potting. They set 6 inches apart, to the same care, the same sun, the same rain. And one plant created 2 half-rotten tomatoes. And the other plant created 20-some tomatoes. Which one was of God? Which one was good? So whatever's underlying all of manifestation, the spiritual essence of this, the living energy out of which everything is made, what is that? What would you call it? And for me to grow myself up enough again today, and invite you to awaken to that God is not a dispenser of substance, not a dispenser like a vending machine or a Santa Claus machine out of what I can put in my prayer or affirmation and pull the lever and get. And if you believe that, you're welcome to. I'm not here to take your belief systems from you. I'm here to question my own belief systems, what I believe is true, and the consequences of believing what I do without ever seeing, do I actually believe that? So instead of a dispenser, then the allness of every ever-present substance of all, Alpha and Omega, when they include me and when they don't, when they like me and when they don't, when they agree with me and when they don't, when they complain and when they compliment. All the good emanating from source. So what would it be like to stop putting it in our binary system of filing? This is good, this is bad. This is of God, this is not of God. What would that shift in you? What would that shift about the way you experience life? What would shift about how you go about your day? That God is Alpha and Omega, the one power and the one presence that exists in all that is, seen and unseen, and which is unfailingly providing exactly what I need. Not what I had in mind at times, better than I had in mind at times, and not what I had in mind at times. What could you shed today that would free you just that much more of what if it's true that God is reality, all of it, Alpha and Omega, and that our development as humans is to awaken to this, the crossroads, the cross of the human and divine. Yes, divine, yes, eternal, yes, infinite, yes, perfect, whole, and complete. And back here at the ranch in my humanness, there's some things that I have not integrated yet, perhaps. So this development is then the law, governed by our actions. And if there's free will and if there's choice, then they're powerful. They have cause. So then a clear understanding of ourselves, a clear understanding of the unchangeabilityness of divine mind can help us realize that everything has a foundation, everything has purpose, everything has a rule of action, everything a law that's got to be observed, that is creator and creation, and that this life being expressed in this is our very life. So I got to present at the Unity Conference in June, several times actually. It's a keynote, so all of this is available if you want to watch it online. And I got to honor somebody that's been in ministry 46 years, that one, Reverend Linda Spencer, who was recognized for the Myrtle Fillmore Award. And what I read to her was an adaptation of something I read that says that our lives are not our own. Your life is not your own life. Your life is the life of God, expressing as it is. So this can free you or frighten you. Again, I'm not asking you to believe it, but to look at what you believe and see what is true. And if life is a gift, then including the losses, including the loves, the relationships, the dear friendships that would create a loss, that it's both and. And what we do then with life, what we do with this experience of life, what if that is our gift to life? So we have a gift of life, and then we have a chance to gift life to many, to several, in a myriad of ways. And it may be in growing a tomato plant. It may be in feeding a hummingbird. It may be in calling somebody. We never know just what one word can do for the journey of another soul. Just one word, one smile, one look, one reaching out, one prayer, one praise, one presencing ourselves for them. So if God is the source of oneness, of all that is, and continues to express itself, to give itself wholly and completely throughout any and all circumstances, then we have the power and the potential, I believe, and the purpose to harmonize with that and to harmonize that. So what will you do different today? How will you respond differently today? What will you let go today? What would you leave at an altar today? What would you want to shed off your skin in case this is true? That this principle of unlimited, unchanging, eternal nature of God is principle, is power, is ruler, is reality. And that our first premise concerning the nature of God is that it's absolute and that it's purposeful, that it rules, that it's reality, regardless if you call it good or not. The source of all knowledge as omniscience. God is spirit, the unseen, everywhere present, moving force of the universe. The power of the universe, omnipotence. Not what I think is power, for sure. As substance, as spiritual essence of an energy that underlies all life, all of manifestation, including the leaving of the body. As creator, as the source, an unfailing source of all supply. Cause and effect. Eternal, infinite activity. And a unifying, harmonizing presence. As me, as you. Some call it love. What do you call it? I bow to you. I bow to your awakening. I bow to your new understanding as I bow to mine. All blessings to you, dear ones. I'll see you before long. And if there's any way I can serve you, get directly in touch with me, marthacreek.com. marthacreek.com if I can support you. Blessings.